Hi, I'm Jaap van Etten, and I am quite excited that I am again one of the presenters of the Fairy Congress, or as it is more fully known nowadays, Fairy and Human Relation Global Congress. They do this for the 21st time. That is already an achievement in and of itself. I will present a workshop on dragons. Well, I am now excited about doing that. In all honesty, about 15 years ago, I would not have been excited at all. I was at that time still, let's say, predominantly thinking from my scientific mind. I have a PhD in biology from the University of Amsterdam in the Netherlands, and that colors the way you look at the world, the way you think, the way you approach things. And at that time, I was already studying earth energies. I was looking into crystal skulls. I was looking at the subtle energies of our system, and especially the interrelationship between things, because that's my passion, the ecology, our ecological situation, that is really the passion I had. But with respect to the subtle beings and subtle realms, I had some contact and I believed in the different devas, but that was about it. We did regular meditations here in our house, and during one of the discussions and sharings afterwards, the subject of unicorns came up. And there were several people who strongly believed, amongst others, of course, my beloved Jeannie. But I had still difficulties in believing, even although I loved the stories about unicorns and dragons and all that kind of beautiful, fantasy stuff. But believing that they really exist, that was a different aspect. But they challenged me. And they said, you believe that whenever a species is existing, there has to be an information system to make that existence possible. Call that the morphogenetic system of a species. So if unicorns exist, then there should be a morphogenetic system. So they challenged me, why don't you go out and check whether you can find such a thing? So Jeannie and I went out, and Jeannie did it, of course, to prove that they were existing. And I I'm sure we can't find anything. Well, Jeannie was right. We found a vortex, which is at the grid points of the cross point of lines of the grid, of the morphogenetic grid of unicorns. And I had to let go of a belief. But relevant for my workshop, she also brought me to another point. And that other point, and it took me a lot of time to truly admit that, was the morphogenetic grid point of dragons. So suddenly I had to believe in unicorns and dragons. But being a scientist, immediately I started to explore the different grids. And in that way, I found that there were 6 species of unicorns and 45 species of dragons, laid out as grids in the landscape, accessible for anybody who is ready for that. Well, the study resulted in an online course about unicorns that is available, and in a book on dragons that is describing actually the 45 species. I believe that every creature, whether it's tiny like a virus or big like a whale, or let's say intelligent as humans are supposed to be, they all have a role to fulfill. They have a function. They wouldn't be part of a system if they are not fulfilling a role in the system. It's one of the things we have forgotten. And I believe that's true for both the visible and the invisible subtle beings. We all have a role. So that means that also dragons have a role. And that was actually my major research. What function do they fulfill in the total metaphysical ecology of Mother Earth? And that was quite an exciting journey. And finding what their role and function is something I want to share during the workshop. And yes, I can't go into 45 different species, but I can definitely describe the major groups and then go into a group that is, let's say, a group where we have knowingly or unknowingly a connection with. And that group is the group that, like all dragons, are, you could say, guardians of creative powers, but we are not using all of those powers. We're using a particular kind of frequency of those elemental powers, the creative powers. And the creative powers, as you know, are the fire, water, air, and earth. And the different dragons are the guardians of those different aspects of the 4 elemental powers for creation. That's why they are, basically the ones that can help us to become conscious creators. And we will look at a specific group, as I said, where you're mostly already working with, but to help you to do it more consciously, to understand the major steps in every creation process and how you can make a connection with those allies, the guardians of those powers, to create more optimally and more in alignment with the totality of Mother Earth. And I think that's a very beautiful and wonderful thing. And I am very happy that I can participate in this congress by sharing with you about the dragons. Now, I love the theme of this particular congress, creating a, what they call, positive future in loving alliances with the subtle realms. And there are many different beings. And that's why there are, fortunately, quite some different beautiful presenters that will contribute in their way to helping you to create those loving alliances with the subtle realms. So if you resonate with anything, please join us. And the closing slide, you will see the dates, you will see the website that you can get more information and also where you can register. Hopefully, we will meet each other during this congress. And thank you for listening.